history, lots of people got excited. Why? Because GAGA, we were born this way! Outselling UK's top 30 LPs collectively this week. GAGA is on a roll once again, and now that everything's said and bought, what do the fans really think? Well, here at WreckedRadio, I'm Jess Paul, and I'm going to tell you my opinion on the newest pop album, and what you guys who have watched the show for so long also think of GAGA's Born This Way. Being one of the most anticipated albums in our collection of upcoming albums, of course we had some expectations, but there were a couple problems and a couple things that I really loved when it came to Lady Gaga's Born This Way. Problems, first of all, being...
And there's just so many, like, religious references.
You also, throughout the album, get a lot of that religious thing going on.
I couldn't have said it better myself. The religious factor and the love Jesus scope really kind of did me in. One question that I love to ask of GAGA, if I could, would be, GAGA, if you really believe in equality for all, what about all of your followers that don't exactly follow Jesus as much as you do? But one thing I did love when it comes to messages from Born This Way is the self-love message. So GAGA has been saying it all along. This album really drove home the call for self-acceptance and self-love and really making something out of yourself, even though there are some people that don't believe you could. Another thing I didn't like about the album was the 80s nostalgia factor. It is really personal of me to say, but I was never born in the 80s, I have no ties to it, and I feel like she's just regurgitating something that has already been done and trying to reclaim the glory that maybe Madonna has had. And the second and last thing that I liked about this album was the honesty that was conveyed through the lyrics and the themes of the album. After maybe 2 or 3 years of really getting to know who GAGA is herself, we now have kind of a personal connection, at least the fans really do, if you stay close to her enough, follow her enough, that we kind of know the ins and outs of GAGA, what her insecurities are, what she believes in, and what she wants to convey to her fans. So let's get to the tracks. When it came to this album, it is a dance pop album. Not that hard to understand. As far as all the albums ever reviewed on WreckedRadio, this one is kind of simple, even though it is a major success LP from one of the biggest pop stars that is known today and possibly ever for generations to come. It's not that hard to kind of get into. The first couple times you listen to the CD, you kind of know which songs you love and which ones you hate. So these are the ones I loved. It's not that hard, and there's not that much gray area, but I will talk about these in a second. And these are the ones that I really did not dig, that I really hated, and I will tell you why soon enough. And the Queen, I just didn't care about. Marry the Night was one of my favorites because it really gave a kickstart to the album. That's what I believe should always be at the forefront of the album. You really want to pull your viewer in, just like any novel you want to read or any movie you want to get into. It's a surefire anthem and a great power pop introduction. As far as Born This Way goes, the second track on the album, while Born This Way, of course, we all know very well, this was a track that I really had to get used to. It really had to grow on me for me to like it. Like I said, one of my major qualms about this album was the 80s kind of nostalgia, revisiting factor, and that's why I was really turned off by it in the beginning, because it's so evident when you hear it in the music. But eventually I just dumped the cheesy 80s theme and just went with, it's a pretty great message. Government Hooker was number 3 on the album, and it was one of the first ones that I really didn't like. Government Hooker we heard a little bit earlier at a Paris runway show, and I thought I liked it until I heard the rest of this album and realized it was one of the weakest songs. To me, it's a really uninteresting and disengaging song that I really couldn't connect with as much as the other ones. When it came to Judas, Judas was a song that I was comparing to Born This Way because it was the second song we were hearing of the album ever. And in the beginning, since I did not like the single Born This Way, I was more kind of Team Judas if we were splitting into two kinds of teams. It was a darker single, Hair was another one that came out a little bit before, if it was leaked, before the album actually came out, and I really lashed out against it. I was like, I hate this song, it is so dumb. You know, I usually say that Gaga is very smart, but this one was very dumb. And a lot of people are saying, you just don't get the song, okay? You don't get the meaning behind it. Let me try to see if I can understand it. The hair metaphor is supposed to stand for accepting yourself and expressing yourself through the way that you look or the way that you want to be. I know that song already. It's called Born This Way. And if Gaga wanted to reiterate that message, I have faith that she probably could have done it in a way that sounded less stupid. Scheiße was the other song that we heard on the Paris runway. It was paired up, it was mashed up with Government Hooker. And this one, out of the two, is one that I like a lot more. I don't know what's going on in the beginning with all the German. It's really fun to hear it in my body. Just dig this song. Plain and simple. Bloody Mary has got to be among one of my top 3 favorites on this album. It's got kind of a darker feel, which are ones that I kind of gravitate to more. And it has kind of a twisted melody that comes, especially during the verse. But one of my favorite things about this is this scream that she gives out, that Gaga gives out a couple beats after the chorus. It's absolutely awesome. And it's kind of a quiet song, if Gaga ever had one. But it really pulled me in the first time I even heard it. Black Jesus, I thought was kind of a throwaway, and Bad Kids was kind of a nice anthem to all of her followers, so that was a thumbs down, thumbs up. Fashion of His Love is probably my least favorite song on this album. Fashion of His Love, I can't figure out which because I'm not a fan, but it sounds exactly like one of the Madonna songs. Maybe you guys can fill me in. Highway Unicorn, Heavy Metal Lover, and Electric Chapel were a group of songs that I kind of all put together. They're all different, but in a way that they're very similar. They all have great beats and they're very exciting. These are the songs that I want to hear in the club. But Heavy Metal Lover especially is one that is also up there in my top 3. Do not be deceived. It is not heavy metal. Literally, it has this melody hook that is in my head all day. The Queen, I said, was one I didn't very much care about. I think that it sounds so much like another song, The Edge of Glory, which I'm much more attached to. But when I was listening to it, at least on my playlist in succession, it came next. I think I was listening to the album backwards. But it came next in succession, and I'm like, wow, the melody really, really just sounds like Edge of Glory. But when it comes to the meaning and the themes of the song, this is the song that pretty much encapsulates what I was saying about Gaga being very honest in her writing this time. A lot of fans, probably besides myself, have seen the HBO special of the Monster Ball that was kind of released maybe a couple weeks before, or a couple days before Gaga's release of Born This Way. One of the most gravitating scenes comes in the very beginning of the Monster Ball, when she's preparing backstage and she's literally crying in front of a mirror. She's taking off her makeup and saying how she doesn't know if she can be a queen for all of her fans. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's very just very harrowing, and she feels like that loser that's still in high school, and for some reason she's not living up to what she says she can be. This song literally repeats what she had said there, if she was kind of plugging the song, or if this was really just something very honest that she was feeling and couldn't help but sing it and say it. You and I was one that I got the album, heard it, and was really disassociated with it. I was like, it's slow, it sounds kind of country. When I did see it on the Monster Ball though, her singing it, this was kind of the second time I heard it, she put so much emotion into it, and it really made me a fan of the very emotional song that was kind of behind this somewhat trite but really lovely lounge song. And The Edge of Glory, out of all the singles, if this would be a single song, this was the one that I loved automatically. Sometimes, a lot on this album, it took me a couple listens to say, I get it, I think I like it. No, as soon as The Edge of Glory started playing for the first time, if it was on a commercial or if it was in a preview or a leak that I found, I absolutely fell in love with it. A lot of fans said that it sounded like the end of an 80s movie. I guess, maybe, but It was very empowering. This is the one that you put on when you're like jogging up a hill, when you're very tired, and you just want to get that last laugh. Rocky. There we go. Favorite lyric? This is actually my favorite lyric. I want your whiskey mouth all over my blonde south. I don't know why, but I think that's really clever and funny. And my favorite song is probably either Heavy Metal Lover or Bloody Mary. Overall, I give this album 3 stars. Now, Rolling Stone gave it 4, but I'm gonna be tough on the girl and say you could have been a little bit more of yourself, kind of found your own sound by now. You had a couple duds, but I do love a couple of the songs. They're probably going to continue to grow on me, and there are lots of tracks that I'm going to keep listening to for days. If you guys would like to harp in on any of our comments, you can comment down below. Have a nice night, guys. Peace, love, rock and roll.